You ever just eat a bagel plain? It's amazing.
No! Who eats a plain bagel?
Welcome back, everybody, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Splitting Up Together. Splitting Up Together went 26 episodes over 2 seasons on ABC. Today we're talking about episode 1, which was called Pilot, originally airing March 27th, 2018. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me, as always, the boys, most of them, Joe, Gordo, and Farr. No Nick this week. What's going on, guys?
Yo.
You know what would happen if you watch a second episode of this show? I have a plan. I would drown myself.
Well, you already did watch a second episode of the show. It was called Extended Family.
I still stand by the greatest thing Bobby Lee has ever done was the TBS original reality show Minding the Store, where he's part of the crew of people trying to make the Comedy Store not fall apart. It is one of the funniest forgotten about shows of all time.
So, real quick, welcome back, everyone. This is our first episode for the week of November. This month, we are doing a theme month, which is Ladies of the Office Month. So, a play on Office Ladies, which is probably, I would say, the biggest watch-along podcast that's out there. And as they're kind of ending the run on the watch-along portion of their podcast, now completing like the 9th season of The Office, I kind of felt fitting to do something almost in tribute to them and then kind of put our twist on it. So for Ladies of the Office Month, we're getting 4 different women who were stars of the show The Office and covering a show that they were in independently of The Office, which we'll do eventually. We still haven't done The Office yet, but Splitting Up Together is week 1. This is with Jenna Fischer in it, so she's the first one to get covered this month.
Do you guys know Pam was in this show?
Do you even watch The Office, Gordo?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Jay, I know how you feel because I know we're very similar. We've rewatched that show a billion times. Ferg, I don't know if I've ever asked you. What are your thoughts on The Office?
I like all the seasons except for the last one. I know you guys don't mind it, but I can't stand that final season.
The last 2, I'm not huge on.
I also burnt myself out on The Office. It was my go-to-bed show for, I want to say, like 2 years, where I watched the show, then started over again, then watched it, started over again, and I'm just like, I got burnt out. I think it's been enough time that I can go back and rewatch. But
I cooled down once the Peacock move happened, and then once it left Netflix and went to Peacock, I was watching a little when they started the Superfan episodes, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to cool down for a while, and then once they catch up on enough seasons of the Superfan episodes, like I'll give it a run again. And they're just about caught up.
We still once a year will watch all the Superfan ones over because I think it's less burnout because there's different stuff in it. And I will say this, like the second half of the last season, I agree, definitely honks, but the first half of the last season is still very funny.
I like that. It's good to know that Pam hasn't changed at all. She's already going for other dudes.
Yeah.
This doctor is the boom mic guy, all right?
Well, I mean, this couple split up. We'll talk about it. So, Splitting Up Together, I remember the show when it came out. I didn't watch it. Did you guys watch any of this?
No.
I'd never heard of this until we started discussing this theme month.
You never even heard of it?
No.
Oh, I'm surprised. IMDb has this as a 6.9. Rotten Tomatoes is kind of interesting, actually. Rotten Tomatoes, critic score 38%. Audience score flipped 83%.
Surprising.
This is a rare time I agree with the critics.
Yeah.
not to tip your hat. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's like a 38.
I'll tell you one of my main issues with it. It's not a spoiler because we're not going, but I hate the narration at the same time. It's like pick one character and let them narrate. When it's both of them, it really threw me off. And
I get what they're doing. They're trying to establish, like, look, we're a team. But it was a lot. And the narration went on for a long time to start the episode.
I have a lot of things I'm mad about this. First of all, I've lived in apartments worse than that garage, so shut the fuck up, buddy. Second of all, anytime I see the text thing come up in an episode, I fucking hate the show immediately. I think it's the worst device to use.
Well, hold on, no, we've talked about that because there are shows where it's okay, and there's shows where I think it was pretty bad. But
that's a trope I didn't know existed until we started doing our show, and now I'm seeing how common it is, and I'm like, wow.
It happens a lot. And the thing is, though, texting now is such a major part of like regular life. So,
Sure.
I mean, if it's not incorporated in shows now, it would seem weird. Like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
now.
I just don't like the floating bubbles, man. I think it looks fucking crazy. I think it's a cop out. It's the same reason that you can't make a good horror movie now unless you remove a cell phone from it. Like it's too easy of a cop out.
Yeah, everything should be a period piece.
Forever. I mean, at some point, you have to acknowledge that the modern day exists. I mean, I'm okay. And it was used sparingly. Like,
It was not used sparingly. No, I think you were.
we've seen about 4 or 5 texts total this whole show, and none of them were more than a sentence, like a short sentence.
No, because there's the back and forth in the coffee shop. We have the back and forth with the hunky doctor.
We'll keep track as we go along, but it's short. It's short.
Just saying, on the record, I fucking hate it.
That's because of technology. We've established long ago that anything modern.
I don't love it either, to be honest with you, but
Thank you.
I don't hate it like Joe as much as
I would
Joe.
like to.
but
I'll go back. I'll have to figure out what episodes, but we've talked about it in the past. And
the Big Show was the main one I
was
remember.
the first the time it was done bad, and then like the next time we saw it, it was done better, and we all agreed, oh, it's done a lot better here. And I can't remember what show that was. But anyways, moving forward to get into the episode itself, the show starts with it's like an exterior shot of the house, and the camera like floats from the outside, goes into the house, and like through that, we're getting narration from the 2 main characters, which are Martin and Lena, who are played by Oliver Hudson and Jenna Fischer. As the camera's moving through, it's kind of like showing us the lay of the house, the fact that they have 3 kids, what their lives look like.
It's all a single shot too.
Yeah, it's a single shot. They're going back and forth, and through narration, we're hearing them talk to one another. And they're basically just kind of, it's like a checklist to see, like, did they get all these chores done that needed to be done? Did you set the alarm? Did you throw out the chicken? Did you feed the turtle? Is May doing her homework? So it's all that stuff going on. And they're going back and forth until the camera eventually gets to where they actually are. And then it's like, okay, good. Checklist is done. Good night. The 2 high five and walk off in separate directions. So, and then it's like, well, things weren't always like this, but now we're right off the bat, we're seeing like their relationship is not typical to, right up from what we're seeing in the first minute.
Do you know what kind of threw me on this? What is the most famous sitcom character named Martin?
Lawrence?
Martin Lawrence?
Yeah, Martin. What is his wife's name in the show?
Lena?
Gina. Like, you could have gone with any name and you make it Martin and Lena? Like, the entire episode, I was like, does he work at W's Up? Is he going to call her damn the whole time? Is Shanae going to show up? I would have loved this episode if Shanae showed up.
No, that's what he calls the centipedes.
Shanae's?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Okay, sure, why not?
I feel his pain. I also have to deal with centipedes.
Me too.
I mean, nobody likes centipedes, right?
I like the idea of the camera that was like flowing through, but for, like you said, the back and forth narration and how long it went for, I thought was a little bit much. And it was just kind of redundant because the list was very long. Like it was like 20 different things. So it just, they needed to like have enough dialogue for the camera to do what it needed to do. And it was just, it went on a little long.
So this is my first clock watch of the episode right here. I was like, oh shit. I know we're in for it.
I'm the clock watching this motherfucker on this thing. Yeah, I didn't feel that yet.
I am the clock watcher.
No, I actually was like amazed by how artsy that opening scene was. I liked it.
It was very well shot.
It kind of had that like Evil Dead thing going for it.
Yeah, you speed that up a little, you could convince someone it's an Evil Dead movie.
Something got into our marriage and it went bad.
Now they're explaining like, oh, so things weren't always like this. They didn't used to always sleep in separate bedrooms, as a matter of fact. And then whoosh, flashbacks. And we're getting like this montage of them. And they're just kind of explaining the history of their relationship from like when they first started dating and you see them like at a restaurant and they're very PDA to like the 2 of them about to fuck and like all these things.
I will say, as an adult, as you get older, right? Like, we're all older guys. We're all almost about 40-ish. When it's like, and we had sex on a belly full of Middle Eastern food, like only you can do when you're young. That is like a very relatable thing. The idea of having sex after eating is fucking terrifying.
Speak for yourself.
You just came back from a vacation where you said you spent half the time with a tummy ache.
I spent a night shitting and pooping and throwing up.
Fucking, right? Yeah,
And
my
fucking.
guy.
This doesn't stop me.
The most unique person I know. The messages from you at night. I'm so sick. I ate bad shrimp. I'm so sick. Next message. Drinking a beer and smoking a Cuban cigar. Two things that will also not make your tummy feel good. And you're like, it was really a lot of fun over here. Like, that passed very quickly.
Well, listen, it literally it went right through me. It's like it was orange, guys.
Didn't love that knowledge.
Too far.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I was fighting for my life down there. I didn't want to go to a Reuben hospital. We have bad health insurance here. It won't pay for it.
It sounds like you went to a hospital owned by a guy named Reuben.
Welcome to Reuben's Hospital. I also went to Hollywood Upstairs Medical School. You should be totally fine here.
Montage, also the first time we get a Coldplay reference.
Yuck. Yuck.
Oh.
I fucking Googled the first Coldplay album to be like, what? Do I remember this? And then it was like, the singles are X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I'm not listening to these. Like, I'm sure I know one of those songs from osmosis, but I would not dignify having to listen to one ever again.
I like the song Yellow.
Yell's right. The Scientist is a good. I like a couple Coldplay songs. By no means would I consider myself like a. If any of you were like, hey, Coldplay's in town this week, you want to go see them? I would say no. But there are a couple songs of theirs I find enjoyable.
All I remember is that they looked like they were waiters at a restaurant. That's correct, right? Like they wore like tight black button-up shirts and looked like they were like about to take your order.
They dress like you.
Oh yeah, or you. Yeah, that's your look.
Does it look like I'm wearing a black button-up shirt right now?
And your lighting, kind of.
It is blue and red, thank you. They would not. In my restaurant, I could wear this shirt, but not any other.
I'm sure I know some songs, but like I can't off the top of my head think of any like Coldplay songs.
They're all wicked boring.
That sounds
Are
right.
they like that like, hey there, Delilah? Is that them?
No. That's plain white tees.
I think that's a very different style of music, yeah. That's like emo pop punky shit.
No, that's not even the same genre of music. But anyways, we're going through more of this evolution of their relationship, and you see them like falling in love, being very touchy. Like I said, there's a point where they're in bed, fornicating. We get way more Oliver Hudson body than we do Jenna Fischer there. They really want to. I mean, he's a hunky dude.
I mean, they tell us that he runs a bunch of times. They tell us he runs enough that Ferg almost yelled at him for mentioning that he runs and works out.
At that point, I was like, get a fucking treadmill. Well, not at that point. I'm sorry. When it comes up again later, because it keeps coming up. I need my run. Why can't I go on my run?
Oliver Hudson, by the way, older brother of Kate Hudson, Goldie Hawn's son.
Yeah, Goldie Hawn's son with Bill Hudson, not Kurt Russell.
Yes, exactly. And then through this evolution of their relationship, now we're seeing, okay, now they're married, they're starting to have kids. And it's like the 3 different scenes in a row. We're seeing, hey, we're pregnant. Hey, we're pregnant. Hey, we're pregnant. And each time, like, things are getting a little more stressful, a little more complicated. And now you see the two of them just like sitting on the floor of the bathroom, all dejected and tired as the children are running around. And that exciting time from the early part of the relationship has withered away to them just being old and tired now.
I don't understand this, because if you don't want to have more kids, like, I understand an oopsing situation, sure. But if you're like, oh, this one kid's a lot, and then you find yourself having 2 more kids, you have been bad at sex.
I think the first one, they definitely were super excited about. Second one, they still seemed pretty excited. Felt like maybe third one was less than planned than the first 2.
But sure, at that point, I feel like you have to take precautions, right?
Yeah, we've all done super responsible things throughout the course of our lives.
Look, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if I was on kid 2 and didn't want kid 3, I would maybe do something about it, right? Like, we have plenty of friends who've gotten like vasectomies after they've had as many kids as they want to have to like curb this thing, you know?
They never state they didn't want the kids.
That's also true.
Oh,
They're
that's
just
also
very
true.
tired as their lives have changed.
But it does seem like maybe it's not a good idea for their relationship.
Who knows? Maybe those kids were keeping their relationship together. You know how like sometimes chicks get pregnant to save relationships? Maybe Jenna Fischer was just poking holes in the condoms.
Like the best episode of Law & Order SVU where you find out that Uncle Jesse has been poking holes in all his condoms and he has like 75 kids. Great fucking episode.
And you're also moving forward with this, like, now past the kids, you see them at one of the kids' birthday parties a little later. She's the one who's like more well, it kind of plays into most of the stereotypes, right? She's the one worrying about things and trying to keep things in order, and he's just being fun dad and playing around, and the dynamic between the two, and that's starting to weigh on her.
It's very much the Mrs. Doubtfire birthday party.
Yeah,
The whole time.
To the point where we get to like them later on and like the kind of the catch up scene, or not the full catch up, but still right before we get to where we are. And she's walking downstairs and she has that like laundry basket on her. And as she's walking downstairs and tired, like you can see he's about to go for his morning run. And they just have that dialogue with each other where it's, oh, I was just going to go for a quick run before work. And she's like, oh, cool. I was just going to go do the laundry, vacuum, punch the upstairs toilet, call a guy about the broken sprinkler, go to work, come home and make dinner. And he goes, cool. What's for dinner? I think the what's for dinner part is what made him sound dickish.
Yeah, that's what made him very dickish. Also, like, if you're in a situation, like, I am no relationship counselor, but, like, you gotta, like, balance that stuff out and split those things. If you want to go for a run every day, then you have to, like, reciprocate back. You know what I mean?
I'll say what I got from this show is, though, she's super controlling and probably want to do all that stuff and then throws it in his face that she's doing it.
I think there was supposed to be a balance to show that they both could have done things better in their relationship. And that does get touched on, but we're seeing him at fault more than her.
Yeah, he gets painted very badly, which we'll discuss later with the dance thing. But
yeah, I mean, he's definitely a shithead, though.
So I think what was meant to happen was we were supposed to see more of her faults too, through the being controlling and later on when she's talking to her dad and stuff like that. But we don't see enough examples of it. We're seeing more examples of him. So where it's supposed to be, I think we're supposed to be as a viewer in the middle of the situation, but you can't help but lean more like he's the one who needs the work.
Yeah, you're on Jenna Fischer's side the whole time.
Speak for yourself.
To be fair, I'm only on Bobby Lee's side the whole time.
Bobby Lee, I thought was the saving grace. We'll talk. I mean, we're gonna get into it when he shows up, but this does cut to modern day, and the narration that we're hearing it turns into real life. So as far as the story goes and what we're seeing in the episode, all of that narration was allegedly them at dinner explaining where they're at now. So now we cut to them at the dinner table with a few family members and a couple of their friends, and this is the story of why they are now pulling the plug on the relationship, as they said, and they're going back and forth again, like in the early narration, where one will say something, the other is saying, and they're just they're tag teaming this as a presentation. She describes it as an old yeller right between the eyes, and then it gets real awkward. She's like, "He was a good dog, but now he's rabid." You saw the film.
And then right after they had a reverse wedding, it was really weird.
I don't think it was that much like that.
It was the same premise. They shared a house and they took turns in it.
They took turns with the house, but the other one didn't like live on the same property per se. There's other things, but yeah, we'll delve into it.
Do you think we're the last generation to get the old yeller joke?
Probably.
Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to show my kid Old Yeller from 1957. We all watched it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I'm like, I don't know. That seems like a weird...
I'm 38 going on 39. I'm pretty sure the last time I saw Old Yeller, I was in the single digits.
Actually, Ferg, by the time this episode airs, this is going to be the first episode while you're 39. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Ferg. Last year of your 30s, bud.
Shut up.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
There's a Grim Reaper knocking at your door as we speak.
Well, hi, younger Ferg. I mean, hi, older Ferg from younger Ferg.
After making the entire room uncomfortable with this situation that they're in and how they're splitting up, they go, "So please enjoy the salad course." And it cuts to the intro, which was that thing where, like, we see it in a lot of shows where they like to do that effect where they make the person look like they're a paper cutout.
Yeah, like a paper doll.
Yeah, like they do that. We've seen that in a bunch of shows for some reason. I like
Didn't they just do that in Ghost US?
I think so.
Something we covered recently had it.
And a lot of shows have done it. I think Ghost US did do that.
I think most famously, I would say Home Improvement.
Yes. Yeah, they were like the OGs.
Yeah. On fucking cue.
This show had a terrible song, which made it less exciting.
That's not the only issue with music that this show has, too. Did you guys notice when, like, background
There's
music
way too much
plays
Ben Folds?
Not only that, it's really loud. They cranked up the background music to the point that I thought somebody in the scene was listening to the music and the joke was going to be they shut it off. And it just, like, no, that's just the background music.
It's really funny, too, because Ben Folds is, like, a piano guy. And like, I've got no shade of Ben Folds. He's not my thing, but like, do your thing, man. I don't care. But like, piano
Suck it,
music,
Ben
you're like,
Folds.
dude, fucking crank that piano rock. You're like, why is it so loud?
I think this is the best place where I can shoehorn this information in. At the end of the intro, you'll see that the show is developed by Emily Kapnick, who you might know as the creator of such hit shows as Selfie.
This feels like Selfie. I was going to say
holy
that.
shit. Selfie is one of the worst shows we've ever done. And I wanted to give her better credit because she did write on the TV show Hercules.
This is way better than Selfie.
Wait, she worked on Kevin Sorbo Hercules?
Yeah, she worked with Kevin Sorbo, and that's a way better credit than fucking Selfie. What a piece of dog shit that show was.
I enjoyed Selfie more than this.
In this case, it's not created by, just developed by, because this show is actually an adaptation of a show from Denmark that came out a couple years prior, which was the same premise show, only like I think they would take turns, the other one would be in the basement.
Oh, I thought it was an igloo.
We're going to cover that next week?
Gordo, there's no igloos. Do you know anything about Denmark, Gordo? Hold on.
Yeah, I've been to Denmark.
In an igloo?
There's not igloos in Denmark.
Yes, there is.
It gets cold in Scandinavia, but they're not an igloo country.
Joe, I've been.
Well, I happen to know that we have a fan from that area who I am more than sure is going to chime in. So we'll wait those answers.
Is he going to chime in from his igloo?
Was that Igloo Joe?
Denmark, one of the better punk rock scenes of the early 2000s.
I was unaware of that.
Note for the Kids, Amdi Peterson's Army, Young Wasterners, Gorilla Angreb.
Oh, Gorilla Angreb.
Hey, Gorilla Angreb is great. Farr, you'd love it. One of the members of Gorilla Angreb made a...
Only way I would love it is if the singer is an actual gorilla.
I wish that was the case, but I'm going to send you his horror movie he made that you will like, because it's a full-on independent horror movie with full practical effects. I think you'd dig it.
Does it at least have an evil gorilla?
There's at least one evil gorilla, yeah.
Okay.
Is his name Engred?
Gorilla parentheses, Angreb, which I believe is Danish for the word attack, by the way.
Oh.
So getting back into the show after the intro, it's going right back to the scene that we left off on where they're all at dinner. I want to point out, why are the two sitting like this? Why are they side by side on the end of the table like that?
Because they're all together as couples.
But there's room on the table. Like, they're not, we can see like half the table's unused and they're sitting side by side at the end of the table where normally a single person would sit.
That's only how you'd sit if you were at like a restaurant with other couples and you were like paired together. At your own house, you just like move people around.
It's also really strange. It's like, we're breaking up. Let's gather all of our friends and my wife's parents and tell them that, sorry about our divorce.
I mean, I guess you get it done in one fell swoop. If you only have the two friends, the sister and the dad, it's easier to have them come over. I think the big crime here is fruit in the salad.
No.
Yummy, yummy.
I did not do a thorough visual on the salad course.
Well, no, he says, he goes, oh, grapes in the salad. That's a good thing.
That's right.
Oh, whatever he says.
I love fruit. I love salad. I love fruit salad. Those two things should not mix.
Yummy, yummy.
Should I know the reference to that? What are you doing?
The Wiggles, you'll learn.
Oh, I'll probably find that out eventually, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Next time I'll introduce you to the Wiggles. You'll be listening to it on repeat.
Right now, we're literally in a very big Raffi moment. I know a lot of Raffi we can talk about if you want.
Yeah, at a later time, for sure. So, so when we have the two of them and they're going back, they're kind of like arguing with one another and having a little sidebar. He's blaming her for bringing up Old Yeller. It's like, maybe you shouldn't have referenced a dead dog with rabies.
And this was my first clock watch moment.
This is where I started hitting it too.
We get to watch a couple fight, and then it's...
I would say regardless of like how you feel about the show, I never felt like the show is very draggy. I didn't think the pacing of the show was ever an issue.
I did. There's a few points where I think it gets pretty draggy. We were like, how long?
So while the two of them are going back and forth, Lena's dad cuts in. Her dad's played by Geoff Pierson, who we've covered in the past.
Oh, friend of the show.
Yeah, Unhappily Ever After.
Grace Under Fire.
Grace Under Fire, the lost episode of Pete and Pete.
Dexter.
We did not cover Dexter, but he was in it.
Good credit. He's a lieutenant in Dexter.
He's Lieutenant Dexter?
In Dexter.
It took me a minute to like recognize him in this episode. Like, because this is the first time I think I've seen him a little bit older. So like the first time I saw him, I'm like, I know him. And it took like like a 30 seconds of like trying to get my head around it.
Oh, he's like never stopped acting. He's still like in stuff all the time. I see him pop up like in just random shit.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes, you check their IMDb, and it's like 200 credits, and you're like, good fucking for you, man. You just keep going.
He's asking them like, so the thing I find confusing about this is, why do you two still want to live together? And they're like, oh no, we don't want to live together, but we're like upside down on this house right now, and the market's really soft, so you know, it fiscally makes the most sense for them to have to do this, which is like a sad reality of the times. Like, you hear stories that are not uncommon to like this one, where what are we going to do? Like, we split up, but if we sell now, we're going to be down hundreds of thousands versus if we wait a few years.
What is funny is, like, I imagine if this show went to a third season, it would have been during like 2020, 2021 COVID, where housing prices just fucking skyrocketed, and they would have been able to sell the house and make money off it.
Or they would have been trapped in the house.
That would have been like the whole season, yeah, where they're like stuck together.
But then they would have sold it for way more than it was ever, because even now, right, we're 4 years post-COVID, and housing costs are way higher than they've ever been.
If only they had COVID.
I wonder if this show was like a victim of, I don't remember when it was officially canceled. I don't know if it had happened. They probably would have went into production beforehand, but I don't know.
It got canceled in April 2019, so it made 2 seasons, but it was pre-COVID, yeah.
It was one of those things, the ratings weren't phenomenal for the show, but they weren't declining. They just stayed at that same low spot they were at and never really moved at all.
I imagine, too, this was probably not the most expensive show to cast, because you don't have a ton of super heavy hitters in it and a lot of kids who just
what are you talking about? Jenna Fischer?
You've got one person, and Bobby Lee is famous, but he's not like, no offense, I love Bobby Lee. I don't think he's demanding crazy money in 2018 for a TV show.
That was before his resurgence, too.
Yeah, big resurgence. I mean, now between like both his podcasts, which I listen to both of them weekly, so Tiger Belly and Bad Friends, and he's doing a ton of shit now. And he does what, like Magnum PI?
Jesus Christ, I hate that no one can think of a new idea.
And I think he's going to be in that new Borderlands movie, right? Did that come out yet?
It already came out. It's one of the worst movies of all time.
Oh,
and that's not from me. It got like low ratings from critics, fans. Everybody hates that movie.
You know what though? Isn't it great when the world can agree on something?
It's a wonderful thing. It was one of those movies I threw on and like, how bad could it be? It's that bad.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Was it disliked more than Black Adam?
I didn't see Black Adam either. Yeah. Anyways, Bobby Lee. I'm a big fan of Bobby Lee, so it was fun to see him here.
He saves this show, honestly.
He was a shining light in the show, I thought. I mean, he doesn't have a lot, but I think a character like him, and we'll get into it, you can't overdo it either, because it'll really throw the vibe of the show too. This is where like we're seeing him for the first time and his girlfriend, Camille, or wife. I believe they're married.
Wife.
And it's like, you know, you guys can't split up. Like, then we're not going to have another couple to hang out with. And, you know, all that kind of generic shit. And everybody kind of internalizing this divorce as to how it's going to affect them and not so much the couple. They're like, no, everything's going to be fine. And then they pull up this big board with all these pictures and shit glued to it to explain the plan, which is, you know, a normal thing people do, right?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
On duty and off duty is just working, though, right? You know what I mean? Like, these are two people who have jobs. Like, your on duty should be for kids when you're not working. Your off duty is when you are working your job. Like, this doesn't need to be that planned out.
This was the visual. I don't like shows that are supposed to be real life-ish, and then they do things that people would never do. Like, you have to either be a little thrown into the half, like, not realistic world, but when you do this kind of a show that's supposed to feel like these could be your neighbors, when you do shit like this, it, like, throws me.
Then it wouldn't be a sitcom.
Ferg didn't believe that this was a sitcom.
As I say, Ferg doesn't feel like it's a sitcom. I feel like it's a sitcom. I just don't think it's a good one.
I can actually see that point, but
it's a rom-com. There's no...
There is a situation. You have no argument. There is comedy and a situation.
Yeah, there is a situation. The situation is this couple is splitting up together and go.
Yeah, I fucked up. I was going to say there's no comedy, but I just said it was a rom-com.
Yeah.
So I trapped myself.
It's a rom-nom.
It's more of a sit-rom.
It's more of a sit together awkwardly rom.
It just needed more jokes. There was a couple of things like that. There's a couple of times where it's like, oh, that's a funny situation. Like, there's the comedy, but they're few and far between.
The show definitely would have benefited from a few more jokes, because they did like multiple serious type of montagey things and like dialogues that all right, those are fine. They're not bad. And it's not that they don't belong in the episode, but the balance did seem a little off. They needed to lean a little bit more with the comedy.
There are a couple funny scenes in it too and some decent jokes, but I think the funniest joke of it all is the kind of thing that's hard to do now because you're thinking, like, not us, we watch shit analytically, but most people are like sort of like glancing at their phones and doing stuff now, right? Like if you throw one very quick visual gag into an episode and make it a funny joke, how many people do you think missed the centipedes when they watch this? Just like,
oh yeah,
I really appreciate that they had them in the background.
Me too.
Allude to it.
It didn't allude to it. I agree, but I feel like the problem is, like, I don't know. I watch TV and I watch it, so I would have seen that joke. But I feel like you're looking at people looking at their phones and they're going to miss that funny joke. And I mean, part of me is like, good, because fuck you. If you're not paying attention, you miss it. But
from that scene, we cut to a little bit later on, and now we have Martin, and he's in the garage area where he's like living, and they converted the garage into an apartment, but like 80%. So it doesn't look that bad, but then you'll see like a rack with like industrial stuff on it.
But at that point, it's not that bad. And also, they're living in California, where living in a garage is not a huge problem, where they're like, it gets too humid out here because we live in beautiful paradise where it never gets cold. Like, I want to see this show in fucking North Dakota or something, right? Where it's like living out in the fucking garage is a fucking nightmare.
Well, then the dehumidifier would have to be a space heater.
That's true.
So he's in the garage apartment with Arthur, that's Bobby Lee's character. And he's trying to kind of sell him on like, look, it's cool. Like, you know, you're never alone because you got the turtle here and there's all this freedom. And he's like trying to talk it up, you know, basically. And you can see Arthur's like, yeah, no, a lot of latitude with perishables and personal hygiene and unattractive headwear. Yeah, it's great.
Again, if you're trying to make this dude not the enemy of the show, and he's like, I leave my butter out, I don't put it away, I also go for a run, and I don't shower, and I wear fucking fedoras. Isn't this awesome? I'm fucking single now. Nope, you are the enemy, dude. You are a fucking nightmare.
He's saying he can do those things, not that he does.
I feel like he does.
Specifically mentions that he wouldn't do that with the butter, but could.
But you can. You can leave butter out. I mean, that's not an issue. But you shouldn't if you're sharing the butter.
I've never left butter out.
Yeah, neither have I.
I like fridge butter. I've actually haven't put butter on bread in like 20 years. I just never really liked it.
Well, you haven't had bread in 20 years.
Whoa, hold on. Yeah. Well, even if like the fake bread that you have to eat, who doesn't like bread and butter? What kind of animal are you?
If I was to go get like, say the gluten allergy was gone, I go and get a nice French loaf of bread and it's nice and warm and toasty. I just want to eat it, enjoy this amazing bread. I don't put butter on it. That's insane. That's just a salty.
You think bread and butter is insane?
I think, yeah, because I think bread is so fucking good. Why would you need to put something on it? You ever just eat a bagel plain? It's amazing.
No!
I'm not a duck.
Who eats a plain bagel?
No. You're fine with the bread thing. But you can't keep using the duck example no matter what it was.
They're going to the well one too many times.
Listen, throw a duck bagels. They're going to eat it just like bread. Tell me I'm wrong.
You guys don't just like call up pizza shops and order just the crust?
I mean, to be fair, we used to get that all the time.
Like a duck.
Yeah, it's like it's like breadsticks. Yeah, but not.
Yeah, breadsticks is delicious.
You wouldn't order just breadsticks from a place.
Also, those breadsticks are painted with butter.
That is true. There's a lot of butter on those.
Look, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying I don't need to take a whole pad of butter and put it on a piece of bread. I think the bread is good on its own. If the bread is good, the bread is good.
How do you eat toast?
Okay, this is some weird shit now, like where my wife has called me a psycho for our entire relationship for this. I like plain toast, nothing on it.
Ah.
Are you my grandmother?
I just want to eat my bread, but I want it toasted a little.
That's so crunch. Fucking weird.
I like dry, plain bread.
I just want to do an all call to the large part of the world who has publicly criticized me for saying that I prefer regular butter over the cinnamon butter.
You're a psychopath.
And I think we need to realize that we all have a common enemy right now, and that man is Joe.
Joe's just anti all butter.
Yeah.
You're the worst.
I don't put butter on anything. I don't put salt on anything.
How do you not put salt on anything? Come on.
Because I cook things properly and I put pepper on them.
Your favorite food is ham. Ham is just pork and salt.
I'm not saying I dislike salty things. In a previous world, if somebody said gun to your head, you only eat one thing the rest of your lives, I would say Cheez-Its. That's a very inherently salty meal. I'm just saying I don't extra salt things. I don't put extra salt on anything.
You're about to get assaulted. All right.
Apparently.
Take on food.
Why I oughta. I want to mention this too in this scene. When it comes to Martin and Arthur, do you get the vibe that they're like, they don't have like much chemistry as friends at all?
Oh, yeah.
They say right here, he says here, this is the first time they've ever hung out together alone.
Yeah, well, he's kind of doing the, see, we don't get to do this enough. And it just feels like, so this couple hangs out with the other couple just because they're couples?
No, it's that the wives are friends, and then they're just the husbands that are forced together via the wives.
Well, she's the one who's like, you guys can't break up. We don't have other couples to hang out with, but you're still going to hang out.
And do.
Lena either way, right? So your life doesn't change.
Well, no, I think that because she likes the way it comes up later that Bobby Lee worships her, she wants him around as well. So it's something they're doing together, but they can do it. This is a weird thing. I mean, like everyone's been in a relationship where their significant other had a best friend or a close friend you didn't like. You always have to hang out.
Oh, yeah.
You don't then call the guy on the weekends and be like, you around, buddy? Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, you just kind of get stuck with them.
It's like being at the weird table at a wedding. Like, you go to a wedding and you're like not really know a lot of people there, so you get set at like the freaks at table 9 table. You talk to those people the whole night because you're there in this thing together, but like you don't go hang out with them the next day. You know what I mean? Like, you're there friendly because you're in this situation. To
go back to when you guys were talking about the centipede thing earlier, this was first brought up here because she insists that humidifier is on at all, or dehumidifier is on at all times. He's saying, oh, she makes me keep it on 24/7. She said centipedes are going to like come because of everything will get like damp in here.
That's not crazy though, because the point of a dehumidifier is to be on 24/7. If you turn a dehumidifier off in a room it needs to be on, it's useless. Like that, like they're for basements, right? Like musty.
No, I think some rooms it's circumstantial, like your weather can affect, like some people will have them for home use depending on the weather.
Yeah, a lot of asthmatics have them.
I think though that likely their garage has no insulation, and that's why it has to be on all the time, because you can't keep like an even temperature in there.
Yeah. Bigger question. Do centipedes like humid?
Yeah, they're water bugs.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you ever notice you see them more in the sink or the tub?
Yep. Every day.
Bathroom area. Yeah, it's because they're looking for water. And they're nocturnal.
I hate them.
Yeah.
Me too.
I had one crawl across my living room the other day and my cat did nothing.
Our cat, who does nothing ever, killed one the other day, and I was like, oh, I have to pick up this weird stiff dead bug, but I'm so proud of you. And then he scratched me.
Oh.
And that's love.
That's love in the only weird way a cat can show it.
One of the major downfalls of having a basement apartment is I have to deal with the centipedes. Usually about 3 times a year. I have this spray that I have to spray around the perimeter.
Oh, yeah.
But that just means I find them like dead for like 6 months.
You're just sweeping them up all the time, like little tough carcasses.
So Artie's asking like, so does centipedes actually come? And that's when Martin's like, you know what, Artie, you're right. Screw Lena. I don't have to follow her orders anymore. He's like, I didn't say that. He says, I mean, that's the whole point of getting divorced, isn't it? He goes, I don't know. I've never been divorced. And if Camille ever left me, I'd kill myself. And he goes, and not like how people say, like, I'm going to kill myself. Like, I really would. Like, I have a plan. And he goes, all right, got it. He goes, I'll drown myself.
He's so good in this scene.
It's such a weird thing to say. And the way he delivered it was, yeah, my line my note next to that line was Bobby Lee with the save.
Yeah.
The thing is, this joke is funny and I laughed. And then when they bring it up again later, and I'm like, all right, you ruined it.
No, I was cool with it again.
I like that it's a visual gag later and not, you're talking the drown yourself thing. Yeah, I feel like it was probably one step too far when they bring the drown yourself thing again.
Remember when I said I'd kill myself? Do you remember the conversation we had yesterday? Like,
remember 8 seconds ago of this episode? Yeah, that's too much.
I still thought it was for a second. Anyway, so we cut inside the house and Lena walks into the kitchen area where his sister's at. She's kind of like not dressed up, but more dressed than she has been, just kind of hanging around the house. She's got like looks like kind of like a denim dress on. Her kids are sitting in the dining room and they're having like breakfast or something like that. They're talking about like the dating scene for women their age, and her sister's telling her how it's not as triumphant as she thinks it might be.
This is one of my biggest pet peeves this entire episode, and I hate when shows do this. what an objectifiable, like, she's beautiful. Jenna Fischer is a beautiful woman. She's like, guys don't want to date me or have sex with me. Isn't that weird? But like, no, that's not relatable. You are better looking than all of us. Your life is not that hard. You're not old. You are beautiful.
Regardless of her beauty, though, it is hard at this day and age to meet new people.
Yes, I will give you that.
Sure, I'll give you
Unless
that.
you're like on dating apps and stuff, like to organically meet someone as an adult. All right, as the only single person sitting here right now, right? I'm either like home or at work, right? So unless you want to date your coworkers, which can be a terrible, terrible idea, where do you meet people, right? It's so rare that you're just out. Like, we're not out just like doing day activities anymore. We don't go anywhere.
We go to bars and stuff, whatever, yeah.
Also, now take that difficulty and extrapolate it times 3 kids.
True.
Yeah.
With your husband living one thing over.
I get it if you're. I just feel like if you're some chud, you can say that and be like, people relate to it. But like,
and as much as they might not want to admit it, girls inherently have it easier. And I don't care if I get any blowback from this. If any woman wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm going to find a man to have sex with tonight, they will find somebody. They will, and that person could just be
is
in
that
their
Jay
phone.
putting himself out there to any woman in the entire world right now?
Hashtag
I'm here for you,
cancel
baby.
Jay.
That is not what I'm saying. But it is not the same for a guy. You know what I mean? Like, that is not the same thing. If a girl was at a bar at the end of the night, they could legitimately just point to someone they didn't talk to all night and say, hey, come with me. And most guys would go, okay, just follow along.
I mean, I don't disagree.
I'm just letting some breathing room in, so if when people are mad, they can be mad at Jay. I wasn't there in the clip.
I don't think I'm saying anything off key. I think most girls understand the realisticness of that situation.
I think you're right. I just know me, and I will.
But that said, too, I will say I totally agree with Bobby Lee, too, right? Because, like, how hard is it to then be somebody who, imagine you're 40 and you've been married or together for a long time and you get thrust into that world all of a sudden? If I had to learn what a dating app was and how it worked.
Joe, you swipe. That's all you do.
Yeah, you just swipe.
But it's not even the swipe, though. It's imagine, look, I've downloaded 15 years of my insanity onto somebody. I can't imagine being like, so how do we go about this now to somebody new?
You'd be on
that's
the
a
app,
lot.
you'd have a picture of you, and it would say, I'm Joe. I'm in a band. I dig music. I have a podcast.
I like to eat dry bread.
And then, like, I liked him until I found out he eats his bread dry, and I swiped the other way.
All you need is one picture of you holding a fish, and you'd be all set.
Joe, 38, is about profile. Butter. What's with that?
What's the deal with butter? Oh, it's making their bread wet.
All right, anyways, getting back to all this stuff. As she's complaining about how hard it is to find guys that would want to have sex with her, she's also talking about like how she'd like to see her husband or ex-husband now like do the things she does as far as like actually making sure that the kids are like in order and feeding them and doing all this stuff. As she's preparing their lunches, that is the largest container of goldfish I've ever seen in my life.
I felt personally attacked by this scene. I have it underlined in my notes. It says, giant tub of goldfish. How fucking dare you?
It was like a 5-gallon jug of goldfish.
I would legitimately go to the bank and take $5,000 out and give it to somebody if I could eat that and not get sick.
They don't make gluten-free ones?
They do not, no matter how many times I email them and ask them.
Farr, you are under the belief that goldfish are better than Cheez-Its?
Yeah.
See, I'll disagree there, but I do feel like it's a close argument.
I've been all about the flavor blasted cheese.
Goldfish,
Flavor
yeah.
blasted goldfish. They're so cheesy. I can eat
Yeah.
like a box the size that they have.
I never liked the flavor blasted ones.
Oh, I love the flavor blasted. That's the only
I
way
always
to eat
buy,
them.
well, if I'm buying goldfish, which it's been a minute, I don't often buy things like that, but it's always going to be the pizza ones. I'm always going to buy the pizza
Oh,
goldfish.
you're a fucking psycho. You go classic cheddar goldfish. You
I'm
take
with
the
Joe
whole
on
bag
that.
and you enjoy it so much.
You guys don't like the pizza goldfish?
I do not. I only like regular cheddar normal goldfish. The superior.
You're not crazy. Those are popular. I've never been into that pizza flavor stuff, like the combos and stuff. It's just never been something I like. I don't think it tastes like pizza.
And while we're torturing Joe with this conversation, what about your Cheez-It preferences?
Classic.
White cheddar.
White cheddar?
Yeah.
That's like one of the worst ones.
I like them because they're not yellow.
I like classic Cheez-Its, and I love when a few are burnt in there. I never got to try the all burnt Cheez-Its, but I feel like that might be overkill. I feel like you like a few burnt ones mixed in, yeah.
I think the hot and spicy are by far the best Cheez-Its, not to be confused with the buffalo ones, which are all right, but the hot and spicy ones are A1 to me.
I will say this, though. Every time I walk through the grocery store and there's 17 fucking new flavors of Cheez-It, but not one of them is like, for our pals with gluten allergies, I get so fucking bummed out. We're like, who wanted fucking this spice flavor?
I
Nobody wanted that.
understand your disdain, and not that I don't feel for you. I do. I sympathize. But you have to understand, to just put a different flavor powdered dust that they probably already own for some other thing that they own and just toss it on the Cheez-It and see if people buy it is way different than changing the recipe of the Cheez-It and try to match the taste and consistency while using like a different like flour or whatever to
It's
create
honestly probably less difficult than you might think.
It is, yeah. They just change the flour. You change it to like a rice flour.
They'd probably have to use a whole separate facility.
But there are gluten-free facilities that make only gluten-free things.
That's true. But Joe, I have found a recipe I think is gluten-free, and it's pretty much just cheese that you can make your own homemade Cheez-Its.
Done it. Not the same.
I've done that when I'm on keto. It tastes nothing like cheese.
Not the same, yeah.
Anyways, while they're doing this whole conversation, she's talking about how she doesn't feel like her ex can handle all the dinner duties and stuff. She like makes a comment about his morning run. Like, there's no way that he's going to be able to get this done without it. That's when their son Mason's like, Dad doesn't miss his morning runs. And she's like, what? Like, no, he takes his morning runs every day. So who makes breakfast? We do. Who makes lunch? We get it at school. It's like, and that's when the daughter is like, last week I skipped lunch and spent the money on this mug from the Young Feminist Caucus. And it's just a mug that says male tears.
Which I looked up. You can buy about 50 different versions of this mug for about $11. So if anybody's looking for it.
I bet.
If our merch store made mugs, I would have been like, we should make one.
It does make mugs.
It does?
Yeah.
You can get any of you guys want to go to our merch store, any of the designs we have.
How did you find the stickers but not the mugs? They're literally next to each other.
Yeah, the mugs are available.
Can we make a podcaster tears mug?
Good idea.
That is a good idea.
Jay, get on that design, bud.
Yeah, all right. So she's like, well, what about the little one? They don't even sell lunch at his school. What does he do? He's like, I just order in usually. And that's when we cut to Lena like immediately like running out and knocking on Martin's door. And as soon as he opens up, the first thing she says is, did you turn off the dehumidifier? And he's like, that's correct. And she's like, it's so damp. You could grow mushrooms in the carpet. He's like, oh, cool. Maybe a new side business. He's like, yeah, I bet you'll prosper. And the centipedes are going to eat your crops. Like, yeah. Like, you've been exaggerating about this whole centipede issue. And meanwhile, if you look behind, like you guys mentioned, you can see like centipedes all over that back wall, like crawling around, which I do think was a good visual gag and like attention to detail thing.
It is a funny gag. I will say this, though. If you're going to half or 3/4 modify your garage to a living space, and you live in a place that's so humid that you need a dehumidifier on all the time, why do you put fucking carpet in?
Yeah, right.
That too.
It's the worst fucking flooring. You get like the clap together.
Yep. Yeah, like bamboo floor.
Yeah.
One thing I don't understand. So they switch places. Does she live in there when he's in the main house?
She does. Yeah.
Okay.
They swap week to week.
That should be her argument. It's like, I have to live here when you're not. I don't want fucking centipedes everywhere. Other than that, it's like who are you to say like how I live in my little pod? But the fact that they're switching, she does have a say.
He's also looking more and more disheveled too as he comes out. Like he's got like a big bushy beard.
Well, he notices that she got a haircut right away, which I thought it was actually like
He's sweet about it.
Well, he mentions it offhandedly, but I think it was like kind of went against his character because I felt like the thing about his character is that he doesn't pay attention to her.
Right, but then he mentions it, and it's obviously not in a bad way.
Right. And then she's like, oh yeah, maybe I could refer you, and calls him Forrest Gump, which I actually thought he did kind of have that Forrest Gump vibe. So
the jogging forest vibe here, yeah.
I'll tell you what I don't like about this Forrest Gump joke, though. She brings up Forrest Gump, and then when he responds, she goes, the fictional character? It's like, you brought it up.
Yeah, you can't then turn it on him.
Well, she's saying he looked like Forrest Gump, and he's like, I'll take that as a compliment. He was a great man.
He was a great man. You see all the things he did in that movie?
He did a lot of things.
Shit happens.
Ate a lot of shrimp.
Is he smart?
I had a lot of shrimp the other day, and I didn't get sick about it like a little bitch.
Yeah, were you shitting orange?
No. You could stop saying that. It was weird the first
No one
time.
wants that.
Yeah. So now she's like, listen, I'm here to talk about this food issue with the kids. He's like, what food issues? He said, May's starving herself to buy feminist stuff, and Milo eats takeout every day. And he's like, hey, listen, like, I know, like, you take pride hand squashing every squash, but, like, I'm not a good cook, and I'd rather enjoy my time with the kids instead of ruining food all day, which I thought kind of a fair argument. Like, if you suck at cooking, you can get takeout that's not bad for you, right? It doesn't have to be fast food. You can order, there are, like, healthy
The
options.
kid getting takeout at school is a problem, though.
Yes. So
Yeah, that is.
I know that's not exactly the situation going on, but his argument back is not terrible in that, hey, I'm not a good cook. I'd rather spend time with the kids than ruin dinner.
That's a nice point, but I also call bullshit on him. I think that's just his excuse.
For sure.
Like, he doesn't want to cook. He doesn't want to do all that stuff. He wants to have his morning run. But at the same time, she's wrong because they're all getting fed. So there is no issue. She's just trying to push her authority on him on his days.
I agree. If the kids weren't eating, that's a problem. The kids are eating, and she's just not happy with what they're eating.
Well, one isn't.
That's by choice, though. He's giving her money to buy food. I used to do that in school. I used to save a ton of money because I'd get $5 a day for school lunch. I'd keep it all week, and then, boom, I got money.
Yeah, there were plenty of times in school where, like, you had money for food, or, like, I would just buy, like, a Coke at lunch. Not because I wanted to save the money, but, like, I just wasn't hungry. End of the week, I was like, that's $5 extra or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I would just steal my lunch half the time we're in high school.
See, I didn't. I was so nice and so polite about it, and they would always give me extra tater tots, and I still stand by that being one of my greatest life achievements.
Enjoy. One day these will kill you.
Enjoy all this fried bread.
Enjoy
That's
it
the
while you
reason I
can.
got the allergy. It was all the extra tater tots. Some evil genius lunch lady was putting a curse on me.
They're always so nice to me. Meanwhile, every time he leaves.
Double bubble toil. Like, no, don't do that to me.
Basically, yeah, she's not happy with the fact that there's things in her life that she can't control. This is her big issue, that she's super control freak. And she's like, don't I get a say in this? And he's like, actually, no, you don't. And like closes the door on her.
I do like, though, when he's mean to her, he still says toodaloo. The idea of slamming the door on somebody but saying toodaloo is so fun to me.
My only issue with this whole thing, though, is, okay, so this is how they were acting up until they decided to get the divorce. But then the dinner where they're presenting the divorce, they're like, hey, we're a team now, and look at us, and we have this presentation, and we got this chart, and now we're buddies.
We high five every night now.
Yeah, and then it turns right back into we're fighting and we're not on the same page. So it's like flip back and forth.
It's like they're married all over again.
I get it, though. I don't have any issues with my son's mother, but sometimes when one of us makes a decision the other doesn't agree with, it goes from we get along all the time to just World War III, and it can flip like that. So this is, as far as that goes with this show, it's pretty realistic.
I can believe that, yeah.
That scene cuts to Lena with her father, and they're at some coffee shop. It's basically her telling him the story of what just happened, because the first thing we heard her say is, so what, I'm the bad guy because I want the kids to eat properly? And he's quick to say, hey, listen, Martin's a total narcissist. Like, I'm not arguing that, but you have control issues. So they are trying to paint this picture of neither of them are angels in this situation. Like, the divorce is neither of theirs fault individually.
I feel like this paints the dad in a good light, too.
I also want to point out that too much time passed before she finally calls him dad, because I'm like, why is she hanging out with this old guy? Why do they have this old friend?
Agreed. You think they have a friend who just like an odd, like, what do they call it, like a May-December romance or something?
Because he's at the friend dinner, too. It's never brought up that he's, like,
so
her dad.
I like that they eventually tell you who they are,
Yeah.
but I agree. Up until that point, I'm still trying to figure out who everybody is. So even the sister, there was a point where they had to, like, sneak into the conversation something about them being sisters, like when they were in the kitchen, you know? Which I'm fine with. I'd rather it be somewhat natural. But, yeah, here it's like we had to wait a while to figure who he was out.
Yeah, it makes sense with the sister, but with the dad, it's like, why are you hanging out with this old guy?
But even the sister, I feel like when the daughter walks away and she's like, you guys are gross or whatever, or like you're bad role models, she should have been like, mom, you and aunt, whatever, are bad role models. Like, they should have just, like, peppered in there. I feel like they waited way too long.
There was even, like, up until that moment where she calls him dad, like, while they're having this exchange, I was still suspecting that maybe he was Martin's dad.
Yeah, I mean, that could be true.
Yeah, I feel like that was a little open-ended and shouldn't have been.
Maybe that's his name, Dad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's entirely possible.
It's like, when you kill Jenna, what you have to do is take her out to the middle of the ocean, put her in black trash bags.
Off the coast of Denmark.
And as this conversation's like continuing on for a second, she gets a text message and she looks down at her phone and the text just reads, "My balls hurt." And it says that it's from unknown. And I want to get into this in a second.
There's so much to get into here.
Yeah. And then she's like, I have to take this. I don't know why she had to walk into another room. You could just not let your dad see what you're texting, but whatever. So she walks off to reply and she's almost like excited. She doesn't know who this text is from. And she's like, who is this? Waits a second, then adds the winky face to be like, oh, is this like a flirty text exchange? But like, we haven't established, I know she wants to go out and date, but is she like out banging? Because you don't just get random texts from people that say my balls hurt. So I was thinking, did she fuck someone the night before? And he's like, oh, I'm so sore. Or
that's my big question. Is my balls, what is the expectation here? Is it because I'm so full of cum that I need to have sex with you because my balls hurt so bad? That's like sexy? Or is it like, we fucked so hard last night that my balls hurt?
But
like,
either way, for her to have that response, like, who could this be? Like, there has to be potential people that you're talking to, right?
in any real scenario, if you guys looked at your phone and said my balls hurt, you would just slide left and it was like delete and report junk. You would never respond back. You'd be like,
reply 3 question marks. It wouldn't be, who's this, wink?
The only way that she could have walked off the way she did would be if there were people that, like, if she had been like out kind of dating like loosely, you know what I mean? Like talking to different dudes.
I just don't think, again, maybe I'm off, but like, is that a line that works? You text a girl sexily saying my balls hurt and you expect that to engage sexual?
It's weird that she sees that as a flirty line too.
Right, it's weird.
That's because she's so sex deprived that's what she thinks.
Yeah, but again, there has to get a cold text like that, there has to be someone in your brain that you think that could be.
Yeah. There has to be a cause and effect.
There should have been a line earlier with the sister, like, I mean, I can set you up with somebody.
I gave my friend your number.
Yeah, anything. So maybe she would be expecting a text. Yeah. Now it cuts to her kid out on the soccer field, like sitting in the bleachers, and he gets the text from his mom because she doesn't know that she's texting her son. And he goes, "Hey, Mom, it's me, Mason." And then, "Why did you add a winky face?" And then, like, my other huge thing is, your son's number isn't saved in your phone?
Did he buy a new phone that day? What the fuck? Why would you not know your son's phone number?
The number still transfers.
All right, so this is my interpretation. No, my interpretation of it is he's sitting on the bleachers. It looks like he's like after like a soccer practice or whatever, and it looks like there's a bag next to him. Maybe his phone died and he's using his friend's phone.
You would never text your mom, "My balls hurt," on your friend's phone.
Also, you wouldn't then type out her whole number and have it say, like, no contact and be like, "Yep, this is my phone." Like, there's no way.
I'm not saying it's logical.
Bad writing.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of holes in the writing, and this was a gigantic one. So, because every other text we see, like, throughout the episode, there's a face or a name, and then, like, here it's just unknown. Why would it be unknown? There has to be a reason for that. Even if there's a throwaway line later when she sees him, like, there needs to be something to explain why they made that decision.
You can even make up fake cell phone logic, like, "Hey, how come you don't come up in my phone?" "Oh, you would text me too much, Mom, so I blocked you. So now you come up as anything like
anything, yeah." Or she lost her phone earlier that day. "I've got a new phone and my contacts didn't import." Like, even fucking anything.
"I had to get a new phone because we got divorced, so I'm on my own new plan. Haven't added the contacts to it."
Do you think her new phone has a game like Centipede on it? I'll see myself out.
All right, I think that's enough examples. So now we're going over to Martin the next day. It's like his morning run. And you see Arthur and he's trying to catch up with him from like afar. He's like, "Hey bro, can we take a break?" And he's like trying to catch up. So I guess they were trying to go for a run together. It wasn't just that Arthur is trying to catch up to him, right? Like they were supposed to be on a run together.
Yeah, they're running together and he like left him in the dust.
He's like, "I'm not a good runner." And he's like, I'm only here because Camille wanted me to talk to you about Lena. He's like, well, that's the last thing I want to talk about. He's like, hear me out. You know I married way out of my league, right? This is Arthur talking. He's like, yeah. He's like, I already told you, if Camille ever left me, I'm going to throw a pool party for one. I still thought that was a funny joke.
I thought that was funny.
No, it was 3 minutes ago, though. Like, we just heard the joke.
But then he goes, but you want to blame everything on Lena when, in fact, you didn't dance with your wife at your wedding. And he's like, wait a minute. I didn't dance with her at our wedding. That's what you think our problem is? He's like, kind of. He's like, that's ridiculous. Lena knows I didn't dance. In fact, we discussed it, and she said she didn't care. Yeah, but she did care, dude. She thought you were going to surprise her, and then you didn't. I'm not saying you have to get back together, but maybe start looking at things from her side. And here's the thing, okay? Allow me a minute. I'm okay with this conversation happening, but this was so unnatural. He just runs up, hey, wait, and then just brings up, why didn't you dance with your wife at your wedding? Like,
Yeah, this is too apropos of nothing.
no context. No context, it just comes up.
To someone who doesn't know that well.
Allow me, I thought about it for a second. If I may indulge, good sirs.
Please, indulge.
I wrote a little paragraph. Let me adjust my glasses. Here's the more organic way that I came up with in 10 seconds. He's running. Hey,
Farts.
shut up. Hey, that's Quick Step. More Bolero. And then Martin finally stops, looks back at Arthur with a confused look on his face. What the hell are you talking about? Arthur slow jogging towards Martin while trying to catch his breath. Sorry, Camille makes me watch Dancing with the Stars with her. She used to make me. It's actually pretty good. Last week when Tanya Harding was eliminated, tears, legit. Camille had to tuck me in. She had to watch the final dance by herself. Have you watched it? No, I'm not into dancing. I didn't even dance at my wedding, if you remember. Yeah, I remember. Camille had to console Lena in the parking lot for the last 20 minutes after that. Wait, what? She was outside the whole time? She said she wasn't feeling well. I thought she was in the bathroom or something. And then you get into the, Lena knows I don't dance. In fact, we discussed it. That's how you organically bring that up. End scene.
That's great. I also think you should sneak in a fart there.
I don't believe that to be true.
I'm with Jay on this one. I also feel like Jay is definitely printed that out and sent it to everybody at ABC Networks and was like, hey, so I've been punching some stuff up lately.
Well, let us revive our canceled show and rewrite it.
Now, let me say this again. And in no means do I think I'm a fantastic, I don't write, okay? I am a 38-year-old man who works at the airport, listens to, shitty music. I'm not a television writer, okay? And that took me 10 seconds. Why is it that a room full of people who write for television for a living couldn't figure out a somewhat creative way to organically bring up that? I'm not saying what I just wrote is the greatest thing to ever be written, but for the context of that sitcom, it was better than what they used.
I would like the scene way more if Tanya Harding was mentioned. I'm on your side.
I will say this. I took a little extra initiative to see who was on Dancing with the Stars in 2018.
That year?
Bullshit. You were probably watching.
I don't like Dancing with the Stars.
I feel like that's something you'd watch with your mom.
I don't like Dancing with the Stars.
I've never watched an episode of it.
I've never watched it.
I've seen it. It's not for me.
I don't understand that or The Masked Singer. How does The Masked Singer work? Are we supposed to just guess by their voice?
We had an argument about this today.
We were literally arguing about The Masked Singer earlier today. Because Ferg and another friend of ours, friend of the show, Russ, were talking about what I perceive to be the worst television show in the history of reality television shows.
No, Russ and I'll tell you how it actually happened. Russ and I were talking about the show House of Villains, which we like. And Jay just pops in. This is the stupidest thing in the world. I'm like, okay, well, you watch
And
fucking...
I know Russ, former guest on the show, guest host a couple times.
Yeah, I said that.
Jay's talking shit about the show that we like when he watches The Masked Singer.
Which is entertaining.
So is House of Villains, season 2.
Some girl that's like completely made out of plastic who was on 90 Day Fiance yelling at some other girl who was like a failed person from Real Housewives about being Raiders fans is not as entertaining as performers singing songs.
Oh, look, it's Chris Jericho dressed as a female dragon. Oh, I'm so into this show.
I mean, I was on Jay's side all of this time until you said Chris Jericho, and then I was out immediately. I was like, nope, never mind, I'm gone.
Oh, I'm sorry that because you don't enjoy Chris Jericho as a wrestler right now, that you have to hate everything he does for the rest of his life now.
I don't hate everything he does for the rest of his life now, but anything musical, I will hate probably immediately.
But hold on. So they're famous people in masks. Correct.
Yeah, they're not all singers, but you don't know who's singing, so it's a singing competition. But they wear these big, goofy costumes to hide who they are. So you're judging them just on their actual singing.
But the few times I've seen it, it's because clips have come up with people you know and they're famous singers, and you're like, well, who wouldn't know who that was right away?
That's what I was thinking.
Johnny Rotten did it once, and I was like, in one bar, I was like, that's Johnny Rotten. Like,
Sure.
You would know right away.
Do you think Jenny McCarthy knew it was Johnny Rotten?
No, I think she's too mad at the vaccines to think about who anybody is anymore.
You want to hear me fart? Come on, that's a Jenny McCarthy joke from SNL.
Moving right along. We cut to Martin now at home, and he's watching his wedding video. And we see it's time for the first dance. And you see like the two talking real quick. And then when you realize that he's not going to dance with her, like her dad comes in for the save. And while they're dancing, he's like oblivious to the fact that she's upset. And you see her face.
That was some great acting of Geoff Pierson, by the way. He comes in, it feels so fucking real when he takes her hand.
Well, this is the thing. I think Ferg doesn't think this is a sitcom because the scene, I think, made him cry.
I can entirely see that.
I fully admit it's not hard to make me cry.
These are the kind of scenes that get you.
No, I was too angry about the show at the time.
Also, was this the first time you ever watched his own wedding video to see how upset his wife was?
It's weird that the photographer left that in their video. You think they would edit it out because it's really awkward and shitty.
But I think the way his character's portrayed, it's probably like he probably saw the video and he's so oblivious to things that he never really noticed how she was feeling in the moment.
Like, isn't that sweet? You got to dance with your dad.
From there, we have Lena, and she's in Mason's room now, and he's like about to go to bed, but this is when they're going to be talking about his balls. She doesn't know how to attack this conversation, as I'd imagine any of us would never talk to our moms. But like, that's the thing too.
Why doesn't he text the dad?
Yeah, I get it's mom week, but if it's a text thing, you could just text dad. Like, you have the power to independently communicate with them. It's not like they were like, you can never speak to us when it's our off week.
When dad's not here, he doesn't exist.
When I was maybe 20-ish, I had a similar issue where I was like, I was having a lot of pain down there, and I had no idea what was going on.
Did you text your mom?
No, I texted my dad. That's what you do. And at that point, I had it wasn't like I was like, well, I've been sleeping around or anything. Like, clearly there was no sex on either side of that. And when I texted my dad, I wasn't like, my balls hurt. I was like, hey, other guy, this is a problem. And he was like, go to the doctor.
You know what the reality is, though? He wouldn't have texted either parent. He would have Googled it. My balls hurt.
At that age, yeah, I mean, what age would you peg him for here? He's like 11?
I don't know. What age do you stop puberty? 13?
I'd say 12 or 13.
And he's got a phone where he can Google.
Right. I can't even imagine that. Imagine being 12 or 13 and having a phone with the internet on it. Holy shit.
I think I have to factor in
his
that
balls wouldn't hurt.
Kids are all a little younger than they were when we were, you know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, I feel like the general progression of children, like turning into adults, is it's a year or two off of where it was when we were growing up.
But I feel like sexually older because they're exposed to it so much easier now.
Yeah, but they're like more like they just, I don't know, they seem more sheltered and stuff. So
yeah, it seems like less kids go out and do stuff, whatever, and they're not finding like woods porn or whatever. Like, you know, we used to all have to find or whatever. Like, somebody in the marsh left a bunch of empty Budweiser cans and some sticky magazines, and you were like, whoa, boobs.
They're not going to the back of their local video store and stealing the ads for porn.
Yes. Just so you could see some pixelated boob real quick.
Kids now who have phones who could I don't care what parental settings you put on, they're going to figure something out. Who have the access to see all of the most disgusting, dirty things on earth. And when we were that age, you'd be like, oh my God, look, I got one of those pens where if you flip it upside down, her bikini comes off.
Like, guys, you hear the conga drums? The Girls Gone Wild commercial's coming on. I've got 18 seconds to finish this thing I was going to do.
Hey, everyone, calm down. It's the scene in the Britney Spears Crazy video where she leans forward for a second.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Having like an encyclopedic knowledge at that point of like any nude scene in any movie.
Oh, Mr. Skin over here.
Does that site still exist? Is there a need for that?
I don't know. I think it still exists. I haven't checked it, but I guess there is a need, right? If there's a specific actress that you're looking for, I guess, and you want to know if she has, someone has to document it. So
it's still so weird to me. It's like, I want to see this girl in a merkin. It's like, there's like the entire world of like anything else is out there.
Mr. Skin does exist.
Said that.
Gordo, were you in incognito mode when you checked that?
Actually, no, I didn't. That was straight raw Google.
didn't Mr. Skin used to cost money?
It looks like there's a login, yeah.
But the way around that is you just put the celebrity's name and Mr. Skin into Google, and then it'll come up.
Nice. Look at you at your perv hacks.
Let me put on my perv hat for a little while.
I don't know this for sure, but I have heard if you want to get around Mr. Skin.
And for just for devil's advocate here, what is one of the names of the people you might do that Google search for?
Oh, it was Rue McClanahan?
Oh, look, I would have known if that was something that came up.
I do declare.
What silent films was she naked in?
How dare you besmirch the name of the beautiful Rue McClanahan, who was like 53 in the pilot for fucking Golden Girls?
Joe first laid eyes on her in one of those. It was like those binoculars that were like on a stand that you had to like flick through the pages.
The things at Canopy Lake that they still have.
I was on the docks in old-timey New York. I finally saw her.
Yeah. Hey, sir, you done with that pictograph?
Lena's talking to her son about his achy balls, and she doesn't know what to say. And she's like, is it your underwear? Are they too tight? Are they too loose? She doesn't know. Should we try to elevate them? And I'm like, what? Like, what are you going to do?
How do you do that?
I mean, and I get it. She's lost. She doesn't know how to navigate this conversation.
Yeah, that's a tough conversation to be in.
Heat, ice. I was like, all these things sound terrible.
Definitely not heat. I know, because the reason why you shouldn't wear tight underwear is because your body heat can lower your sperm count. So you don't want heat attached to your balls.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Learned that from my doctor when I was about his age. Stuck with me.
You know, he's saying, no offense, Mom, but, you know, maybe I should consult someone who actually has balls like Dad. This is still such a weird conversation to have with your mom. It's just like, no, I'll handle this. This is my week. And I'll call your pediatrician, Dr. Nakashima. He has balls too. And then we cut to Lena outside in the yard, and she's like having her nighttime bottle of wine with Camille and her sister.
This is a nice little ritual.
And yeah, and they're just kind of hanging out in the backyard and talking about like what just happened. And she's like, oh, he could smell my uncertainty. You know, they're like, you know, this wouldn't happen if you still had your husband in the picture. And like Camille's like,
she's being a little rude here.
All the friends and family are way too invested in their divorce. Like,
yeah, it's weird.
Way too open about it. Like, hey, you guys shouldn't do it. It's like, they're unhappy.
Yeah, your favorite like couple to hang out with you and your husband are no longer together. Like, you can't like, hey, I'm really unhappy in this relationship and be like, I don't care. I like having a couple to hang out with. Like, that doesn't work.
It's really strange. Sending Bobby Lee to
good friends.
Husband,
good friends going to be good friends, right? If any of you, you know, knock on wood, anything would ever happen sour with your relationships, I would instantly jump in and talk shit about who you're with. And then if you guys got back with them, I'd be like, hey man, I'm so glad you guys got back together. Like, no matter what happens, you just got to defend your boy or gal in this case.
I've seen you do that firsthand in our lives.
It was like a year. We thought we were safe.
Yeah, I fucked that all up. That was all on me. I take full blame on that one.
So they're like getting on her about this, and she finally just kind of breaks in with like we haven't had sex in 2 years. And then it was like and they both like look at her. She's explaining the 2 full calendar years. It wasn't my choice. I tried. Martin stopped wanting to. He just started looking through me like I was invisible. And I accept it, even though it's like hurtful and upsetting and it didn't make any sense. Like, I just can't live like that. And she wants passion and romance. And apparently that's not something Martin wants anymore. And as soon as she says that, a very young, attractive girl walks into the yard and goes, hey, excuse me, I'm looking for Martin. And they're like, just around the bend over there. She's like, sorry to interrupt, ladies, and walks off. And I love it. When you do this seldom in a show, I like it. And you just get Lena going, what the fuck was that? And they do the bleep, they bleep her out. But I love a good just bleep out the moment and make it feel more real.
Sure. A couple things to talk about here, though. One, we all knew this is a dance instructor, right? Like,
no.
I have in my notes
No.
immediately. I have in my notes, I'm guessing dance teacher immediately. I knew exactly where this was going.
No, because he's realizing that he fucked up, but there's been no indication that he wants to get back with her or anything. It's like, so I didn't think like, oh, he's getting dance lessons to like try to win her back or something. Like,
No, yeah, it completely caught me off.
I have a quick question though. When she says they haven't had sex in 2 years, one of them replies Jewish years. What does that mean?
Hebrew years, yeah, I didn't check that up.
So the Hebrew calendar is different than the Gregorian calendar, but this is why the joke is so weird, because it's only usually off by like 10 days. So like the Hebrew calendar is typically like 354 or 55 days.
Not enough that it would make a significant day. Yeah.
I didn't get the joke.
It's less than a month. It'd be like 20 days. Yeah. I think that calendar is a combination of solar and lunar, and our calendar is just solar. Not ours, but like the calendar, like American Gregorian, whatever calendar.
My only other thing with this scene was, this is what we talk about, like that balance. It's like there's a lot of serious going on and not a lot of jokes. So we have like heartfelt moment, Arthur telling Martin about like, hey, you didn't dance with your wife, and then him watching the video and being kind of sad. And then the conversation with her son when she's trying to help him. And now this when she's having a long dialogue about like how her relationship has no love in it. It's like, we've gone like a good 5 minutes without a single joke. I'm not saying it all has to be like yucks the whole time.
They're trying to lean into, oh, it's a funny situation, but it's like you need jokes in that funny situation.
There has to be some jokes going on, yeah.
Like the what the fuck, I guess, is sort of a joke. And the pouring the big, like the not saying anything but pouring more wine into the cup, I guess, is a joke.
But yeah, I mean, what was the last actual joke? Was Bobby Lee talking about the pool party for one?
I think so. And that was about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. We cut to the next day, and now Lena and her sister at the supermarket, and they're like just walking around and food shopping together. It's like, I mean, I thought he just lost his sex drive, but apparently he just lost his sex drive from me. As they're talking, the sister's just like, I don't know. I think we haven't talked about this enough. Her sister's kind of like shitty this whole episode towards her. Yeah.
She's not redeemable.
Yeah, she's never really like supportive of her at all, but they're best friends, but they don't give you any reason to like her.
She makes fun of her here too for wearing like a jumpsuit, but like that's a weird writing thing too, because those jumpsuits are like A, hugely fashionable, and B, usually pretty expensive.
I feel like more 2018, not completely yet. I feel like the rompers really kicked in the last few years.
Maybe, but not that far off. Like where like every major fashion company makes a like very expensive one.
What she's wearing isn't even a romper. That's she's wearing like onesie pajamas with a jacket over it.
No, she's got like a one piece like coveralls sort of set on.
No, the sister even says it. Like you like
she says she looks like a homeless Ghostbuster. And I'll tell you, as someone who's been around a few lady Ghostbusters in the past.
Oh, did I know right away when she said that where this was gonna fucking go?
There's only one way it could have went, okay? When I see a lady Ghostbuster, I can only think back to 2 years prior to this being filmed. Me on a movie set, doing my makeup, in wardrobe, about to grace the stage, alongside 4 lady Ghostbusters.
I still stand by it. I like everybody in that. This is not an indictment on those actors at all, but that movie fucking honks.
Honk.
See?
You are a duck.
That would be a goose.
All those honking ducks.
I actually like her reply in the situation of being called the homeless Ghostbuster, by the way, when she went, why would I be a homeless Ghostbuster? I have a full-time job busting ghosts. I actually thought that was also the most Pam she came off this entire episode.
That was a very Pam to Dwight type of comment.
Yeah, I did like that joke.
She's like, what about you? What about me? Are you going to shoot the Thriller video? Do you have a diamond glove? I'm sorry, who's that? Is that
hi,
Casper?
boys. Oh, hi, everybody. It's been a few minutes. I missed you all.
Hey, Casper. How did you feel about Lena's sister's red leather jacket, much like the one that you're donning on our t-shirt that you can buy over at S1E1pod.com?
I do love that jacket, but I was just actually conjured here because I heard a little boy's balls hurt. Is that the reason that
All
I was
right, Casper,
conjured
it was
here?
good talking to you. All right.
Buy the shirt at S1E1pod.com.
I can't control what calls me here to see you boys. Tito says hi.
All right. Good talking to you, Casper. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye everybody. Hope you buy my t-shirt. The proceeds all go to
Casper, you can't say that. I'm sorry, buddy. He's gone. We're good.
All right. As they continue talking and throwing digs at each other, Lena gets a text from her son Mason again. Looks like now she remembered to save his contact information though, because now it pops up when you see the text. And he writes, he uses the cherry emoji to signify balls. Is that a thing? I never used the cherry emoji for balls.
No, there's actual balls on there.
Yeah, you could use an actual sports ball. I would have, if someone said you have to use balls in the text, I would have used like 2 acorn emojis.
Or grapefruits.
But he used the cherry and wrote, nuts still hurt, basically, using the cherry emoji for nuts.
Now, actually, guys, speaking of nuts, did you guys know that today is National Nut Day?
Today, the day we're recording.
Yes.
Not November 9th. It is.
So October 24th, if we're peeling back, the actual day of our recording.
That could have also been the reason that Casper Jackson was conjured here today.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It would.
He was pulled from his fiery depths of hell like he is every few weeks.
Now, when you say nut day, is that all nuts?
I believe so.
Because the way these national holidays work now, there's probably also a National Peanut Day, a National Cashew Day,
Yeah.
a National Tree Nut Day, like all encompassing. Yeah.
Pine Nut Day.
Yeah, they've gone a little wild with these.
Almonds for life.
What are your favorite nuts?
Almonds. Actually, no, with time, pecans.
No.
Well, I guess it's the context, right?
Yeah, if the context is I like pecans.
Yeah. I'm a pistachio fan myself, but also cashews, almonds, peanuts.
Yeah, I like all of them.
Do they still do the pistachios that are covered with like red paint for no reason at all?
You can still get them at like convenience stores where it's like 2 for $1.49 or whatever.
I
Those,
feel like you don't see that anymore.
I saw them the other day next to a nondescript gummy shark bites, and I was like, I wish there was
Anything but the Brazil nuts. Those ones are by far the grossest.
Ironically, those are the healthiest, so it
Brazil
kinda
nuts?
sucks. Yeah.
and they're giant too.
Yeah, I hate them. And honestly, like, unless you're like using them like mashed up and putting it on top of something, just eating walnuts aren't that great either.
Agreed.
Oh, I
No one
like
wants to just eat a
walnuts.
You want to just eat a walnut though?
Yeah, I used to as a kid. I used to go over my neighbor's house. We used to play chess. This old man, we used to play chess, and then I used to eat walnuts.
And then you stick his walnuts in your mouth.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, hi, Gordo.
Hey.
Oh no.
It was a thriller for me too, buddy.
No, but my favorite nut is these nuts.
Well,
There it
we
is.
are.
Moving right along. Again, Mason's way too comfortable talking to his mom about his nuts, and I don't think using like clever emojis to talk about your balls when it's to your mom is a normal thing to do.
It'd be funny if she did the winky face back again.
So now we cut to her at the doctor's office. Lena and the doctor are talking. Mason's in the room as well at the time. And he's thanking her for like being very comprehensive. And we know how controlling she is. So like all the paperwork that she had to fill out, I guess she kind of went above and beyond and did all this stuff. And she's like, I just wanted to paint the full picture. And it's like, all right, I got good news. Your son is perfectly healthy. He's just going through puberty. He's like, puberty, Mace, right on. And he's like, I'm going to go get some Skittles from the lobby. And then he leaves, and he leaves the two of them together.
What a cool lobby that they have Skittles.
Yeah. I do want to mention, I could be, hey, I'm just saying personally, he does not look how I expected Dr. Nakashima to look.
It's a family name, Jason.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
They originally cast Bobby Lee for that part, but he was so good they made him the friend.
Was Dr. Nakashima like from Wales or something? Like he's just like the most average looking white guy.
Maybe he's adopted by 2 Asian parents.
That could be true too. I was just surprised. That's all I'll say before I get myself in trouble.
I mean, that happens. Like the brother in Gleaming the Cube.
True. I think it's weird that they let him leave the room before, like, the conversation he has with the mother, he would have been having it with the kid in the room. It would have been, all right, yeah, go get your Skittles.
Yeah, I feel like you have to talk to the kid a little bit like an adult to be like, hey, so... Or like he'd have the mom leave and then tell the mom separately. I don't
Your
know. Your
body's changing, young man. Like,
Right, yeah. Have you been noticing funny hair sprouting in places?
Yeah, but he had to have the conversation with mom circumstantially for all the other stuff that's going to happen in the episode.
Also, because of all the lack of jokes and comedy, they could have been flirting in front of the son, which would have been an awkward, funny scene to add jokes. And that could have been why he leaves to go get Skittles.
If they didn't show him the whole scene and then they flirt the whole time and then it cuts to him just sitting on the table, like feeling uncomfortable, that would have been a good like way to cap that scene.
Especially if he's awkward about it, he was like, luckily mine don't hurt. And then you cut to the kid. That's funny. See? Boom.
I will say, the rest of the scene, to those of you listening, it is the two of them flirting the whole time, but they're not being that aggressive. But there is definitely vibes going on. She is like, are there vibes here? Like, she even like outwardly says it. But also we're learning that Mason's discomfort is from routine boners without jizzing. That wasn't the exact dialogue, but that is exactly what the situation is.
Caused by not relieving the stress down there is what he says.
I don't believe jizzing is a medical term. I don't think that's exactly in the medical books.
He's saying, I'd like Mason to try masturbating. And mom, of course, should do whatever she can do to facilitate, which I thought was a weird thing to say because it's like...
It was a really strange line.
What is that supposed to mean? Well, she asked, he's like, I just don't want him to feel any shame about doing what his body needs. It's like, but she's not going to talk to him about this, right?
No, that's why I said the doctor should have had the conversation with him, not her. Her way to facilitate is pretend it's not happening, let him be in his room with headphones on.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like, I got like there was also an opportunity for a joke to have her mother, to have Anne be like, what do you mean by that? I'm not doing that, right? There's a joke. And the doctor be like, no, I just want you out of the way.
She could have said something along the lines of, hey, I'm his mom. I don't think that's appropriate. Next scene, we're back home, and we see that hot girl from before, the one that was in the yard. And she's at Martin's door again. And when he opens up, it's like that, oh, I wasn't sure if you were going to come back. Well, you did pay me to. And it's, oh, come on in. And then it's, oh, dance lessons. I can't believe, Joe, that you knew this ahead of time.
It's in my notes. I have it written. I knew right away.
Didn't dawn on me for a second.
No, not even a little. Good pickup.
Nope.
I feel like my brain is not useful for anything anymore except fucking sitcoms, and that's the most depressing thing ever.
And the thing was, like, even in the scene, though, so now we find out, okay, that thing really stuck with him when he watched the wedding tape, and now he's getting dance lessons, which is weird because we still don't know his angle. Is he trying to rekindle his marriage now because it feels that way?
Yeah, it's like I said earlier. It's like they have no indication that he wants to get back with her until now. So
the show's gonna have a very interesting dynamic in that, like, the will they, won't they will be a married couple.
Yeah, but you know where this goes, right? Is he's getting the lessons. She thinks he's dating someone. She's gonna start dating the fucking doctor.
Yeah,
but also this dance teacher is clearly flirting with him too. She's putting out the vibes, I think, with him.
Yes, so they start dancing and they're working on things and they're playing the same song from the wedding song. So he is specifically like working on that. She's like, okay, now remember the most important rule about dancing has nothing to do with dancing. Never break eye contact. We're partners. We have to stay connected. And she's saying it like very soft and they're very close. And I'm thinking this is going to turn into like a kiss or something.
Yeah, this is a kiss for
to
sure.
throw a wrench in the relationship because she is putting out vibes. The throw is supposed to be, oh, it was dance lessons the whole time, but then it's going to turn into something. But no sooner is it like right when we think they're going to kiss, when he goes, oh, wow, you just explained why my marriage failed. And I was like, oh shit, he didn't fall for this. Or not fall for it, but she thought there were vibes.
This is when the wife should have opened the door to try to finally talk to him about the son going through puberty and seeing them holding each other and be like, you wouldn't dance with me?
And dancing to that song.
Are you dancing to our wedding song?
You know, The Luckiest by Ben Folds is the most important song in our lives.
There's one Ben Folds song that's in my Spotify list.
I know the name. I couldn't tell you a single song.
Called Smoke. Good song.
Is he the one that dumped poop on people?
That's Dave Matthews.
That's Dave Matthews.
Okay.
Dave Matthews dumped poop on people?
You never heard? We've talked about this on the podcast before, a long time ago.
He didn't. His tour bus driver did.
So they were driving over a bridge in Chicago and they were in a big tour bus. And the driver, like, while driving across the bridge over the water, hit the release to just dump it. But as he did it, there was a boat of people going under the bridge and he showered them and shit.
Also, super illegal to do. That's not how you do that.
Yes, you can't dump fucking fecal matter into the ocean or river or whatever it was. It was probably one of the Great Lakes, right? If you're in the Chicago area, it's probably like Lake Michigan or one of them.
The Mississippi?
That's a river.
Yes. Yeah, the Great Lakes, Michigan, Huron, Erie, Mississippi.
The home of Mo's Lakes.
Yeah. Homes. So now we cut to Lena and she's having dinner with her kids. Mason's like, hey, Mom, can I get a poster of Kate Upton for my room? Which is like so weird, like to specifically ask.
I had to Google who that was because I had no idea, but she's in that great Three Stooges movie we all love so much.
Kate Upton is, I mean, objectively a beautiful woman. I mean, she is, I can understand like that. Our generation, like we mentioned Jenny McCarthy earlier, when we were like 12, 13, whatever age he is, that's when most boys had either like a Carmen Electra or a Jenny McCarthy. I think
Pam Anderson.
Pam Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was at the end of my bed looking all sexy.
Was it a barbed wire poster?
No, it was Baywatch.
It was a Baywatch.
It was not uncommon for boys his age when we were that age to have same thing. It's the poster of a hot girl, right? I remember I had I think it was like just a girl with glasses and like a plaid skirt and said like study hard and she's like I think she had like I can't remember exactly how it looked because there's no way her tits are out, but I don't know if she had a shirt on either.
You had the one with the two lesbians kissing too.
I also had that one. I was more a fan of that one.
Yeah, pervert.
You know, a tattoo would just come out. I mean,
I remember in that time too, a lot of people had that one that was like all the girls naked from behind and they had like the Pink Floyd
The butts?
thing painted on their butts. And I was like, I hate this. You're ruining butts with a terrible band like Pink Floyd.
I like Pink Floyd. Stop it.
Of course you do.
so anyway, yeah, he wants this poster of Kate Upton and his sister's like, no, we don't objectify women in this house, right, Mom? And now Lena's like in this really weird situation where she doesn't want to betray her feminist daughter while also helping her son who needs like spank material. So she's like back and forth and she's trying to agree with both. She doesn't really know where to go here.
He doesn't need spank material, though. He has a cell phone in 2019.
Well, in sitcom world, he has to follow the time-honored tradition to jerking off to a poster on your wall. He's trying to like justify wanting the Kate Upton thing. So he's going, you know, I read that she designed some like limited edition beanies to raise money for cancer. And Lena's like, that was really nice of her. He's like, yeah, I think raising money for cancer is sexy. I thought that was going to be your opening line, by the way.
It's in my list, yeah. At this point, though, honestly, like you can tell when my list gets a little to the end when it's a show where I'm like, I'm fucking done. And we're at minute 20.
And she's like whispering back and forth. She's telling the daughter he's not getting the poster. And then she's trying to whisper to the son that he is going to get the poster. And we cut to like a little later on and Martin walks in and he's like, a little bit of time must have passed. There's no one like in the downstairs area at the moment. And he's like calling for everybody. And you hear Lena go, in here. And he heads over to like the pantry and he opens its door where it's Lena apparently has turned the pantry into a jerk-off closet for her son.
That is the worst place.
I prefer the word nut nook, if you will.
Okay.
I believe that was, that's how I read most of my books.
The pantry next to the kitchen?
Oh, wait. What sitcom did we watch that he jerks off?
This is Louis C.K. from Lucky Louie is like, this is his dream that he walks into this room and there's like lights and all sorts of soft lighting.
He just really wants to jack it to Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
She has that picture there. She has the lights. It's just so weird. I understand the idea of trying to help your son out, but how is that supposed to work?
What was in the pantry before it became his jerk-off dungeon?
All the food's still in
There's
there.
still food in
His
there.
goon cave?
Yeah, that giant jug of goldfish is still visible in there.
Mom, I want some goldfish. Ah! That's so awkward. Why can't he just whack it in his room?
So she's explaining like to him, hey, Mason's been having some discomfort. So I took him to a specialist, and apparently he needs to tickle the ivories, like play piano. He needs to shake hands with your uncle. He goes, my uncle, Jim? I did like that. Him not getting the
Jim,
the
wink, wink.
Yeah. I hate this scene, by the way, because I feel
loved it.
You're dating, you're married to this person. You would be like, doctor said Mason needs to jerk off. She would not dance around this, not in front of him. These are people who've been together, have 3 kids together, have been married, lived together all these years. You wouldn't be like looking up euphemisms and trying to make like funny jokes. You'd just be like, doctor says Mason needs to jerk off, otherwise he's going to be in pain, and so I made this room for him. That's
the only way that would have made sense would be if the youngest kid was also in the room. So you
you have to have somebody there that you're speaking around it.
So he's like, so this is supposed to be Mason's masturbation nook? He's like, I like to think of it more of a lair. He's like, this is really creepy. It's like, I know. And this is the only time there was at least a little justification when she goes, I just thought it'd be weird for him to have to do it in the room that he shares with Milo. So I'm like, okay, that's at least something.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Come down to where like we keep our dry goods and
Yeah. Instead of the bathroom or something like that. Yeah.
Cinnamon checks, some cum, like, you know how it usually is.
He notes the Ruth Bader Ginsburg poster. It's like, I don't know. I just thought, someone who's worthy and capable.
Going for the RBG spot.
So now she's asking him, like, can you think of anybody? And it's like, yeah, like I got someone, like she wears a bikini, but she kicks ass in it, and bracelet game strong. And she's like, Wonder Woman? Like, yes. It's like, oh, great idea, Martin. This actually made me pretty nostalgic. Do you guys remember the first person that your parents came to you and told you to jerk off to?
Edith Bunker.
Oh, Archie.
Greg, we were talking about this the other day. You said when you were 12, your parents both walked into your room and they're like, Michael, we've been talking and we got you this poster. And we just thought that, next time you have to relieve yourself.
Here's Joni from Happy Days.
That would be really strange if my parents were in the same room together when I was 12.
You made it dark, Jay.
What age did your parents split? Mine were right around. I was actually about 12 when my parents split up.
Oh, I was
12,
real
13.
little.
Well, in fairness, Mason's parents aren't together either, and they came together for this very important situation.
First of all, there's no posters. You're that age, you find those weird HBO shows at night like Real Sex.
or your phone.
Not in the fucking early 2000s.
Our age.
Our age. Yeah.
1997, we would have been 12, right? So it was Taxi Cab Confessions or Real Sex.
So now they're having a conversation in this masturbation nook. He's like, oh, see, I knew I had a contribution to make to the family. And she's saying, I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. Like you didn't contribute, like bad wife move. And he's like, no, come on. He's like, no, I'm a good mom, but I wasn't a good wife. And he's saying, well, I broke eye contact. I was a bad partner. And she goes, well, at least you're in great shape. And he goes, I am in great shape.
I'm sorry. The response to I broke eye contact should have been like, what are you talking about? Not like she automatically understands the reference that he had with the dance instructor earlier. Like,
but that goes to that the will they, won't they, because they understand each other.
that goes to poor writing.
Yeah, if they understood each other, though, I would agree with you, Gordo. But if they understood each other and they spoke to each other and they got everything, they wouldn't have made all those like tickling the ivories jokes. They would have spoken to each other like people who were a couple.
Touche.
Also, did the new Wonder Woman movies had they come out by then, or are they talking about Linda Carter?
What year is this?
2018?
2018.
Yeah, the first one's out by then.
The first one's already out? I thought that was like maybe, I thought like 2019, maybe. Because it was pre-pandemic, now that I think about it. I feel like that was like one of the last big movies to come out before the pandemic. Not 2017.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess, you know what? Now in the context of knowing that, that's who they're talking about. They're talking about like
some Gal Gadot action.
Yeah, they're talking about her, not so much like the cartoon.
Not Linda Carter?
Oh, Linda Carter's who I went to. Yeah, she's like the one from the 70s.
No. This is a Gal thing. No, so yeah, that's actually great pick to jerk off to. So, oh boy.
Yeah, I love isolating that stuff. You say that shit sometimes, and I'm just like, I'm going to sit back for a second and just let you stew in it.
Also, timeline-wise, it's a really easy poster to find. That movie had just come out. It's very popular. I think it did $1 million. I think it's the only DC movie to do well.
They're getting into this conversation But now she gets a text and it's the doctor. It says, "How's my patient?" So she's like, "Oh, I guess it's my turn to run." They say goodnight to one another. And now you see Lena in bed now that she's in the garage, and she's like getting ready to answer that text. And she finally lands with which one to the...
She's in the worst flirt game ever.
It's not bad. At least she's like injecting herself into it.
What does which one mean?
The son with the weird nut or her?
It also feels like she's flirting and then immediately goes right to texting her son about, like, would you like to jerk off to Wonder Woman?
That was, I thought, really weird.
Those should be spaced out.
Because, yeah, she texts him that, and, like, when she sends that text, we go over to Mason, who's, like, receiving the text, and, like, he's, like, walking into the room with the rest of his family as he's reading it, and he replies with the winky face. So now it's like they're all in on it, like, the poster is to jerk off to. This is, like, a known thing that's just going to be, like, unspoken, but spoken.
Yeah, it's
like,
so fucking weird.
It would have been better if she mixed up the two because she's texting both of them and then you just see the son, "Oh, it's mom's boobs."
or she just texts the doctor, "Wonder Woman poster."
I mean, he's a doctor. He might get unsolicited boob or butthole pictures sometimes being like,
Imagine if that's how the episode ended. If it was just a matter of she gets a text back, it's like, whoop, and she looks at it, and it's just the doctor saying, "Why would I want a Wonder Woman poster?" And then she looks up and realizes she sent the wrong text.
You hear Mason screaming, running to a therapist.
And then it just fades out. Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba.
That's the boy who never nutted.
Yeah, that, or he has a very weird, very specific fetish for the rest of his life. I can't come unless you drive me to soccer practice.
After Mason sends that winky text to thank his mom for giving him some jerk-off material, he walks into the room with his siblings and the dad, and they're all just kind of playing around. And the dad's like dancing for the youngest son, and like they're wrestling around and having fun. And camera like just kind of fades out the same way we kind of entered with the camera coming into the house. Now we have the camera exiting the house. That's how the episode ends. I didn't mind seeing like dad play with them to end the episode.
It was very heartwarming.
It is, but again, I feel like you're just getting mixed messages about the dad.
Well, I think if I'm going to give the show some credit, right? This is playing into a more modern age of how television stories go. And look, I'm not going to give the writing too much credit. I think there was a lot of mistakes. But he's not supposed to be inherently good or bad. You know, everyone has layers, and they're showing that both of these people are good people but have flaws. Because I think ultimately the way it's coming off, and I don't know, I didn't watch the show, and I don't think after 2 seasons they got to tell their full story anyways. I think ultimately the goal was to get them back together, right? Somewhere down the road.
And you're going to change the name of the show.
Yeah, I imagine so. Getting back together.
So if we're to root for both of them, then both of these characters need to be positive. So although he had his flaws and he only really thought about himself and he didn't dance, you still have to see that he's ultimately a good father and he cares about his family and all this shit.
Ironically, this episode paints him not in the best light. But you know what will happen down the line is because you see him trying to better his relationship, you're going to grow to hate her because she's dating someone else. And she's not doing anything wrong.
Right.
But that's what's going to happen is she's going to become the de facto bad guy.
She's the reason they're not back. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the bullshit thing in the last season of The Office, though, where like they paint Pam to be the bad guy.
Pam was the bad guy.
No, Jim was the bad guy. Jim took $10,000, their entire life savings, and then he was being a dickhead to her, and he moves to Philly.
Yeah, but I didn't see him hitting on any sound guys.
I love that guy as a sound guy, too. Like, he's so good at everything. It's so hard to hate him, but when you watch that season, you're like, fuck that guy.
We don't have time to talk about it, and we're never going to like do a season 9 watch along of The Office, and we definitely don't have any extra time on this episode, but Jim, through 9 seasons, supported Pam through every hope and dream she ever had. And then the one time he was like, I really want to do this. He went, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's her name in Orlando, where he could have done the thing.
Oh, what was her name? Oh,
It'll come to us later.
Oh,
I'm
the
sure.
one that comes to his hotel room when they're
they
trying
order
to
the
sell
2 desserts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jim did a lot of right things. But anyways, we've talked about that. We'll probably have more time for more Office references in the next few weeks. So with all that in mind, there's not a lot of other stuff I have as notes for this show. There wasn't much out there. It didn't have too long of a run. If you actually look at the Wikipedia page, it is the most generic thing in the world. It is just a bunch of dates and timestamps where on March, blah, 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 so-and-so is attached to the show. On April, blah, 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 so-and-so is attached to the show. In August, blah, 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 this person was attached to the show. Then the show came out, and now the show's not out. And that's basically it. With all that in mind, we might as well just jump to the end because we really do have to get going. Greenlight or cancel? Gordo, starting with you.
Cancel.
That's it?
Gotta elaborate.
That's all you got, right?
It just wasn't good. The writing wasn't good. I started watching the clock really early, and normally there's been episodes where like that hasn't been a hindrance by the end, but this one I just kept stopping it and being like, this. It just not a lot of comedy, not a lot of jokes, except for like the nut nook. Not my thing. I could see it being some people's thing, but it's not mine. Cancel.
Ferg.
And with Gordo on canceling this felt like a Hallmark movie with a bigger budget. I'll say one positive. I like some of the artsy camera stuff they did, like the intro when they come in and go through the house in the single shot. But that's kind of where I draw the line. I didn't like either character very much. I couldn't stand the daughter. I thought the whole son jerking off plot was weird. And the biggest sin of the show is it just wasn't funny. It had very, very little jokes. And, the calm part of sitcom just wasn't there. So, cancel.
Joe.
I think cancel. I think to Ferg's point of it feeling like a Hallmark movie, I think that's my issue, is that they just never pick a lane. Is it Hallmark or is it like sexual and adult? Are you for the husband or are you against the husband? There are some people in this who I do like a lot. I just think that when we watch a show and we talk about it and we have suggestions for rewriting 75% of it, that is not a good sign of a TV show. I just think that I'm surprised. I'm glad they let it go 2 seasons because who knows, right? Like sometimes you have to let a show breathe, but I would not watch a second episode of it. It's a cancel.
So this is like the third time in like a little over a month's time that's going to happen, but I'm going to give it the green light. I don't think this was a phenomenal show by any means. I just wasn't in that same situation you guys were in. I wasn't like clock watching it. I think the writing had a lot of room for improvement. There were just little things that were like enough for me to give it another chance. And that's kind of all it really comes down to is I would definitely watch another episode. I think it's one of those things where it's just a tough first story. I don't like the subject matter. Mason has to jerk off is a really weird first storyline, but I don't know. There was like just enough there. I'm hoping that we get like more of the other characters involved in the next episode. Yeah, it's going to be a green light. It's a soft green light, don't get me wrong, but it's enough. With that in mind, regardless of Nick's score, which will be visible on S1E1pod.com, on our Instagram, X, etc., only 1 out of 4 so far, so it's going to be a cancel regardless for splitting up together. So I'm sorry you do not live on to see an episode 2. I want to thank everybody who listened this week. Stay tuned. We have 3 more weeks of Ladies of the Office month where we celebrate all ladies who starred in the hit show The Office, but in their other ventures outside of the show. So stick around for that. Hit us up. Follow all our socials. Go to S1E1pod.com. Buy a t-shirt. Follow us on everything. Subscribe, rate, review, do that stuff. Hit us up. Tell us shows you want us to cover. If there's any theme months you think would be a great idea, that'd be cool. Let us know about them. But that's it. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best giant tub of goldfish.